Yeah, I think that there are challenges, but I think probably less than what people expect. I think people have just really got back into the flow of live events. We've definitely seen that here. We've had 2,000 plus people now. I think everyone wants to go in person, but of course there are challenges. I think, virtual people have an expectation of virtual, maybe hybrid events, because before COVID, we didn't really have hybrid. It was always in person, or you didn't attend. Whereas I think now there's always been, well, during COVID there was that expectation of a virtual element, and people saw that it was possible to do that. So I think there is that expectation of virtual, and as organising events, I think we have to always think about what we can do to cater for those audiences that maybe can't travel to a show. I think there's also the challenge that people have a higher level of cleanliness, which is great. So obviously you've got to think about sanitizer stations and how often we clean the show and things like that. And that's a positive that's come out of it. Something that, not that we never really thought about before, but it wasn't front of mind. So that's definitely something that we have to think about. And what we've done here at Advanced Therapies Week on the show floor is actually keep the aisles wider than what we typically used to have, and that's because people do, although social distancing is no longer a need, people do like to still maintain distance and have still not necessarily maintain distance when they're in conversations, but make sure they've got space. And I think that's really, really important, to not feel like you're enclosed in a small space and where there are lots of people. So I think it's also another, not necessarily a challenge, but it's something that we have to think about up front. So yeah, there are things that we have to think about post-COVID, but I wouldn't say there's any major challenges that we're facing running the show. It's just that people just seem to be so happy to be back in person that they're not demanding stuff. I think they're just so grateful to just be here, be in Miami, be in this destination, be able to just network and connect and in person rather than virtually. Because I think people have told me it's so destroying to do that virtually. So I think actually, I wouldn't say there's any demand. I think people are just super, super grateful that they're here and that they can be around people again and just enjoying the time to make those natural connections, which you don't make virtually. We have so that we started the show with our super plenary, and it was Anthony Davis from Dark Horse Consulting chaired that. We had a really good range of speakers on the panel, and actually we always do it so that we've got the payer perspective, we've got the industry perspective, so like the financial perspective, a biotech perspective, a KOL perspective, and actually it's just a really nice way to open the show because all these people were real experts and they're part of the field. And you look at the industry from 30,000 feet, and everyone just gets to listen in and really think about. It's always a good opening to the show because people actually really start thinking about this industry from a real strategic point of view, and it's a good kickoff for the next few days and when we go into the more technical side of the industry in our tracks. That was definitely a great opening. We then followed that with an opening party, so we had arcade games in there, basketball hoops, a claw machine, where we had a Fitbit and stuff in there so people could win that, and that was fun. Everyone enjoyed themselves, had a few drinks, and it was those moments of natural connection again that you don't get virtually, that people just appreciated. And that's why we brought the arcade games in, because it gave everyone a chance to speak about it's icebreakers, like obviously if you've got a claw machine or an arcade basketball hoop or something, everyone's like competing against each other, so that's a bit of fun. And then last night we had the yacht parties as well, and I don't know if anyone thinks that scientists don't party, but they can on a yacht in Miami, and it is brilliant. We've been focused on, at the event, we've been focused on patient-centric development, and that's really coming through. I think we've got a lot of patient advocates and patient advocacies on the agenda this year, and we're bringing them into sessions where we're talking about really important things, like obviously the manufacturing process or the clinical process. And it's really about making sure that the patient is at the centre of that development, or whatever that development is, and making sure that we're always thinking about the patient first, because our end goal is obviously treating that patient. So it's bringing them into the conversation. So that's been a huge theme that's come out of this show so far. We're also, we've done a big celebration of 10 years of CAR Ts. Obviously, I know Emily Whitehead celebrated her 10-year cancer-free party, I guess, her 10-year cancer-free milestone last year. So we've been doing that in, we've got that in the agenda as well. And I think what was really interesting actually in the super plenary was Anthony Davis went through 10 different drug names, and he asked people to keep their hands up at the beginning. And he said, if you've heard of X, then, you know, keep your hand up. And what was really good, and I've seen this progression in the industry, by the end of I think it might be the eighth therapy, everyone had their hands down in the audience, because I think actually not everyone, and what that showed is like not everyone had heard of every single therapy. Whereas if you think about cell and gene therapy a few years ago, you knew every single name of every single drug, because we were only approving a couple a year, maybe not even that, you know, pre-2017. So actually that was really insightful. That's how much our industry's grown up and has grown in the last couple of years, and how many approvals are coming through, and the experts in the room don't know the name of every single therapy. And I really liked that. That made me happy. And so we have our European show, which you obviously came to, but that was in London. But we're moving the show to Lisbon, and we're really excited about taking that to mainland Europe. And we've got lots of regulators and payers interested in the event, and obviously coming to share their expertise. Obviously, as we know, Europe is the challenge in that market. So I think that moving it to Lisbon, moving it out of the UK, moving it to mainland Europe is a really good move. And also Lisbon is fun. We're going to have a destination show again, like Miami. I think that's what we like to do here at Phacilitate, is have destinations and take people out of their typical day-to-day and just let them relax. And that's how you make connections. So Lisbon is next on the list. We are looking at things like Asia as well. There's nothing out there yet. We would like to, expand into Asia, whether then or whether that's thinking about how we increase our Asia attendance at the Miami and Lisbon shows. But we are starting to do that, and I think it's a really important continent that, only 5% of our audience at the moment is from Asia here in Miami, and it's an important, very, very important continent to make sure we're bringing in. You cannot replicate live events in a virtual environment. These live events create these moments of natural connection that you just can't create virtually. And they're the moments where, at the exhibition opening party or the yacht party or wherever it is, where you bring a group of people together, and then they always, it's the networking, really. That is absolutely, you cannot do that virtually. Of course, the content you can stream and you can watch it at home, but I don't think you get the same sense of excitement when you're sat in a room and you're listening to the speaker in person and able to ask the questions in person. I think that, and obviously meet the speaker in person as well after. So I think it really is above, for virtual events, I think they work for some things, but I think live events are absolutely a must when it comes to networking and making those natural connections. And many people here have come with an idea of who they want to meet, but they leave with connections that they never ever expected, and they blossom into incredible partnerships. And that's what we've definitely seen at this show this year.